Ah, there we go. Jeez. Up in the tree. All right. Sorry about that. Had a slight technical hiccup. What you gonna do? Technology. All right. Give it a couple minutes. I'm going to let's give it a couple minutes. Let me get my notes. All right. Eh. Let's see. You know what I realized? Most people might not have noticed that we made the switch to YouTube. So let me just do a quick post on Facebook. Mm-mm-mm. Oop. Yeah, sorry about that. I realized like most people would have probably gone to my Facebook to look for the live, but we're not on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Um, so I just wanted to post that. And kick us off. So hot drink coffee, but I ran to Fairway Market, could not find a non-dairy creamer. So I had to, as the young people say, suck salt and just get a regular Starmer. So that's what it is, guys. Unfortunately, but that's gonna be rectified because I gotta hit up Carrefour and get my Planet oat milk creamer. And the hot take is yet another video game quote. I think I'm going to keep this trend going because, you always find something in a game, especially types of games that I played that kind of relates to just regular life. And today's hot take quote comes from Dragon Age Origins, which is one of my favorite RPGs. And it goes, "The world fears the inevitable plummet into the abyss. And when it comes, do not hesitate to leap. It is only when you fall that you learn whether you can fly." And I think as we continue through these uncertain times, it's good to also recognize, our own internal power for adaptability and for continued growth and evolution, even in the face of everything that's happening. But that requires that we all sometimes take a leap of faith to get to that point where we can say, this is uh, this is what we want to achieve. So only when you fall that you learn whether you can fly. I think most people are afraid of taking that risk to kind of see, well, am I going to make it? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But even if you don't, you are always able to pick yourself back up because you're not actually jumping off a cliff. You're jumping off a metaphorical cliff. So always important to remember that as well. So after the hot take, we have the word of today, which is a curious word. I mean, if I look at what my colleague Mintea Grisha has been talking about, it suits what she's been focused on, which is husbandry, the care, cultivation, and breeding of crops and animals. So, as we now continue to try to revitalize a bit of our agriculture and husbandry and fishery industries, um, it's good to actually understand the meaning of the word. This is something that, as I mentioned, Minister Haile Martin has talked about even since we were in Parliament. She and MP Westcott were critical in establishing the committee for agriculture, fisheries, and husbandry for the Parliament of St. Martin. I think the abbreviation is TAFA or something like that. But yes, so they were instrumental in establishing that committee, which from the Parliament side does in research into these different industries and how we can best have them reestablished on St. Martin in a sustainable way, of course, because you also don't want to overdo it in any of those sectors. So word of the day, husbandry. And in a sentence, The Minister of Tayat is currently working with local farmers on re-establishing St. Martin's husbandry industry. So she'll get a kick out of that. A few updates today going into this day, which is, as you know, a calm day. So I'll be here until I gotta head out for that. Travel update. So as some of you may have seen, I traveled to St. Lucia on the 13th of May to participate in the Caribbean Safe School Initiative Ministerial Forum. This happened over 2 days in St. Lucia in Gros Islet at the Harbor Club. My first time to St. Lucia, which I think is a beautiful island. I definitely have to go back and actually like visit it proper. And we landed in rain, which was nice, but I can understand why they get so much rain. And it pretty much rained almost every day that I was there. But nevertheless, we were sequestered inside the conference room for the majority of the trip anyway. And the purpose of the ministerial forum was for me to hand over chairmanship of the CSSI. My predecessor, Minister Samuel, held chairmanship for the last 3 years. So St. Martin, the country, is who holds chairmanship. And I had to go hand it over to the host country, St. Lucia, and their Minister of Education, Mr. Sean Edward. He has a very extensive title. It's not just education. But yeah, so I handed it over to him. There is some news reports about my remarks, and I will be posting my remarks as well on this page and on my Facebook so that you can see them if you didn't get to see them. But kind of going over what St. Martin has done over the last 3 years with the chairmanship. And I think it's important to highlight that there have been some positive strides that have been made, especially on the path of Student Support Services Division. So I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Olga Mussington Service, who is the division head for SSSD. They've done, with very limited resources, incredible work over the last 3 years, to the point where many at the forum were looking to Olga for guidance, for insight, for help. And of course, I've recommitted St. Martin's willingness to contribute and to discuss with our neighbors, how we can all best make sure that our schools are safe. Now, school safety for the CSSI has so far focused on safety in disaster response. This is part of the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction Office activities in the region. So it's about retrofitting schools to make sure that they're ready for earthquakes, flooding, hurricanes. If your schools are used as shelters, how are you in ensuring that they are safe and that school can resume immediately following a natural disaster or so. This time around, the forum also touched on violence in and around schools. And this is something, as you know, literally the day before I had to travel, we had our own incidents here where we had yet another fight on a school bus. And we had the incident of the KPSM finding a weapon on a student on one of the buses as well, following reports made to them and descriptions given to them by persons who were aware. So I bring that up to also say that, we are not the only ones dealing with this type of phenomenon. Also, the day before the forum was scheduled to start, St. Lucia had its own incident where a parent, frustrated that the school had not, in their opinion, adequately addressed the issue of their child being bullied, showed up at school with a gun and pointed the gun at the bully. So I think, it kind of shaped the conversation that we had as ministers of education, where we, how do you address these types of matters, and how do you ensure that parents are not feeling so desperate that they take those, take measures into their own hands, and that they go and essentially threaten, their child's bully. And the discussion that we had, to my opinion, and I shared this as well with the St. Lucia news outlet that interviewed me there, when we were discussing this topic, because again, as you can imagine, because it had just happened the day before the forum started in St. Lucia, the news outlets were also like, yeah, in face of this, what? And I said, we have to be very aware and have to just look ourselves in the mirror and admit that many of the factors that lead to school violence and to bullying on a whole are very largely socioeconomic and education ones. You have kids being bullied because of poverty. kids being bullied because of their perceived or actual sexual orientation, kids being bullied because of their accents, because of their backgrounds, what their hair may look like, what their clothes may look like, their food, if it's cultural food, that they're bringing. And I think the forum for me identified is that much of this is learned behavior from either siblings, parents, or other figures in a kid's life. And we have to, as adults, start to listen to what young people are telling us when it comes to that and move accordingly and not try to impose our own, our own thoughts on how bullying should be addressed and how school violence should be addressed onto them. And I think for me as minister, it's definitely going to shape the conversations that I have moving forward with not just educators and school boards and such, but with young people in general. Because one of the things that also came out of the forum is that young people have to actually be treated as partners in this. We had a discussion about discrimination against hairstyles and stuff like that. It's something that we ourselves are having here. And one thing I can say is that, two of my colleague ministers, it kind of started off as a yes, but no, there is no but. Kids are telling you that they don't feel safe because they feel bullied because of their hair, because of the hairstyle that they wear, even if their hair is clean. And there is no but after that. The child feels bullied. Point blank. That's it. That's all that matters. And for me, that's all that matters. I think, you can kind of see the generational gap there because these were, of course, older ministers from within the region. And I think it was myself, I believe Anguilla's minister and the junior minister for Antigua and Barbuda, who were around the youngest in terms of they're in an official capacity. So we kind of try to bring that, that approach of things have changed, things have, evolved. I mean, not to call anyone out in particular, but there was a point in time where you wouldn't see young men with braids in the Adventist church, and now you see that. So any organization and institution can change and can evolve, and I think that's something that we need to hold on to as we continue with these discussions. But for me, it definitely is going to shape the conversations that I have with our young people moving forward. Very soon, letters will be going out to the school boards, kind of solidifying what I have mentioned several times on the live stream before, which is the establishment of a youth cabinet for MECYS. I also shared that this is something that I'm doing with my colleague ministers because they themselves were like, how do we blend youth voices into policy making and decision making from a ministry perspective? And I said, well, this is what I plan to do. So this is something that you all can mimic if you would like, because many of their schools have strong student councils that can field representatives then for a youth cabinet. So to the school boards and to those in the secondary schools, look out for that notice coming to you soon. So that was St. Lucia. 2 days of very intensive discussion, really great networking with my colleague ministers. Of course, the minister for St. Lucia was there as the incoming chairman. Also was able to meet the Minister of Education for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Anguilla, as I mentioned, Dominica as well, the Right Honorable Minister Alfred. She was a hoot, I have to say, very, very blunt. So anyone working in the Ministry of Education for Dominica, you have your hands full. I think I can imagine what your day-to-day must look like. But and of course the junior minister from Antigua and Barbuda. So it was a pleasure to meet them. You had representatives as well from Guyana. So it was definitely a pleasure to engage at that level within the region with those colleague ministers. Moving forward, we had the FBE exams. Bit of a snafu right before I left, where the exams were incorrectly shipped elsewhere. This is something that we didn't have control over, because last I checked, the ministry doesn't have shares in Federal Express. But nevertheless, through some serious networking and consistent work and attention by the division head of exams, Ms. Yvette Halley, we were able to get the exams on the island, and the exams kicked off on Thursday. Still ongoing, and then this week as well is reset week for any students who may have been ill at the time of their exam. So I hope extra Facebook, and I posted it as well on my TikTok and said, yeah, no, I'm happy for the extra day to be able to last minute overview in. So looking forward to those results. I do that everyone went through smoothly with the exams, and we'll see the outcome thereafter. And then moving on, I think this is my last update. Is it my last update? Yep, it is Florida Watch, or as I like to call it, DeSantis Gate. I don't know. So just as a recap and the story so far is that we received notification from FAMU, FSU, TSC, and such that the MOU between Simatin and them, because of the cancellation of the Latin American Caribbean scholarship, was going to be canceled. Nevertheless, government and the Ministry and Division Study Financing has taken steps to mitigate the negative financial impact on study financing recipients because of this decision, and ensure that they're not unduly burdened or face any interruptions in their educational journey. So as of August 1st, we are implementing the following measures. So recipients that are currently pursuing an undergraduate degree at FAMU or graduating from Tallahassee State College will be receiving an additional out-of-state allowance to be able to continue their education. Those pursuing an undergraduate degree, at FAMU are also going to be receiving an out-of-state allowance. And, we will be paying these installments out in 2 equal installments for fall and spring only. This is based, of course, on students pursuing a maximum of 12 credits per semester, and all students must pursue prerequisite courses to graduate. Additionally, however, I want to make it clear that you have to remain in good academic standing. You have to report your results to study financing and to the ministry on time. What is not going to be covered in this is living expenses in the event it is not included in your overall package that you currently have. And the reality is that this is going to, of course, come to parents. This is standard even since I was attending university, that certain living expenses have to be covered by your parent or parents. This is why your F1 student visa is contingent on your parents being able to prove that they can also financially sustain you in the event of anything like this happening. So this is something that I wanted to highlight. And I believe students will be getting direct communication from the Division of Study Financing and the ministry when it comes to this. I myself signed off on a letter to go out to inform them of this decision and how it will go moving forward. Now, I'm happy that we could have done this, and I stress on the word currently, because this does not mean that this is something that is going to be able to be maintained as we see out-of-state tuition costs for these schools go up. So this is an allowance for those currently studying at these institutions. I did receive some good news on some of the MOU discussions that have been held on my behalf. So I'm hoping to have a meeting in the coming weeks to hopefully finalize that, and we see how we can move forward with options that are outside of the Florida State University system. Aside from the financial issues, though, I do want to continue to highlight and provide advice to all students in the United States to pay careful attention to your immigration status. Pay careful attention to how you move online, how you comment online. As we have seen, the current administration is applying a very broad brush to all immigration issues, and students, not just from other Caribbean countries and other South American and Latin American countries, but even students from other European countries, even Canada, have been losing their F1 visa status and being forced to leave the United States. What I do advise, what I used to do when I was in Miami, is you have to, I would advise the closest Dutch embassy or consulate of my presence in the country as a Dutch citizen. Don't forget that that is what we are. And this way, in the event that you run into any immigration issues, they may be able to assist, consult, and advocate for you, even if it means that you will still have to leave the country. What it will mean is that there won't be any further action taken against you. And if you read the news, you will know exactly what I mean by that. So I do urge everybody to keep an eye out on that, so that you are well aware and that you're aware of your rights as well. Moving forward. So we'll continue to monitor as well decisions being made by all state academic governance bodies, because it may start with Florida and may end wherever. But nevertheless, as we continue with MOU discussions, I'm hoping that we'll be able to move out to that Florida Panhandle problem. So that's generally the updates that I had in terms of actions that the ministry is taking. And oh, sorry. First week of June, we will be launching the official promotion, artwork, and information on the Dame Ruby Butte National Short Story Contest, including the announcement of the theme for this inaugural event, as well as the prizes specifically, because you know who the partners are, but you don't know what the prizes are specifically. So that will also be coming out the first week of June. So I just want to tell everybody to watch this space, and hopefully we get some good participation for this. I'm very much looking forward to the creativity of our young people being put on display for everyone, and looking forward to reading the stories as well. But that will come out on first week of June. And then within the ministry's departments as well and divisions, we have June 13th is Flag Day. National flag. This year's celebrations, I believe, are scheduled to take place in Cold Bay, so we're kind of moving some of the fun over to the other side of the hill with the kids parade and everything. So very much looking forward to that as well. And then the EGRA and EGMA assessments are also slated to kick off in early June. These assessments are a repeat of what was done with Group 3 last year. The intention is to expand it so that we cover the students who were maybe done in 2 years ago, see if we can gauge if there's been any improvement on the previous group over the course of 2 years. And that is pretty much where we're at right now. Hurricane season is coming up. I've urged everybody to start preparing from now. I myself will probably be bebopping around to the public schools to see, their readiness for hurricane season. Remember that for your home, you need bottled water for at least 2 weeks. You need canned food, other non-perishables, 2 changes of clothes, a radio with batteries, charger banks up the wazoo. I myself have like 5 charger banks at home. Watertight storage for your passports and other important documents in your go bag in the event that the unthinkable happens. As I mentioned, the live stream will be via YouTube from now on. So don't forget to, what did the influencers say? Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe so that you can get your updates on when the live stream is occurring. And yeah, I will see you all next week. Yeah, I believe. And by then I will have hung up all of the artwork that I received over the school tour, and we'll finally do this art tour of the entire office, because right now it's mostly been that you've been seeing. But yes, so hopefully I'll be able to get all that done. And shout out to Office World for the magnets that, because many people don't know, but like these 2 walls are magnetic. This is not, and neither is that one. So we have to find creative ways to hang things up in here. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week right here on YouTube.